Hello folks, welcome to my YouTube channel, Watercolor Impressions. Since we are doing a lot of winter season paintings, I want to continue this series and I want to do a painting for my Christmas holidays. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from my channel. I'll provide the drawing template and reference, check my description to download it. If you see my drawing, it's really simple and weak. But that's how you need to do for watercolors. Focus on big major shapes, then go down to medium shapes and smaller shapes as well. So I did throw down a wash, a light wash, like a light blue and a little bit of cadmium yellow where I see the lights. So this is kind of like a mid wash. So I'm starting with Cobalt Blue. So this is the second wash and we're going to layer another wash at the top because it's kind of a little bit darker in our reference, and night scene is not really good for watercolors, but I like the challenge. That's why I approached this painting and I did this painting. And you can see I also left some orange lights which is in the foreground and which also creates a little bit of interest in our painting as well. And you can also come up with your own impressions. It doesn't have to stick with the painting I'm doing. You can also come up with your own way of doing as well. So this is the midground building and there are a lot of orange and yellow ochre in it. I mixed it to get that orange, and before it dries out I'm just throwing down neutral tint on top of it, and I want to blend it at the bottom, so I'm just using my little bit of assistance. That means like using water. And whenever if you want to take down a paint from the wash you did, you can use literally tissue paper and you just dab it and it will come off. And when I did this, I did a mistake of blocking in the buildings right away because I have to put another wash on my sky. But painting is all about going back and forth and learning from your mistakes. So next time when I do a painting, I know that I have to do the sky first, then do the buildings. But it also helps to know where my building goes as well. So as in watercolors or in any traditional painting, cool colors go in distance, warm colors come in the front. And you can see that's why I blocked in a little bit of warmer color buildings in my midground. And I'm just combining all the building into one shape. And if you try to do each individual building, it will be really hard to think and paint. So it's always think everything as shapes instead of thinking as a building or object or anything else. So now I'm trying to add some details for the foreground building, which is on the left hand side. You can see why I put down the wash for the yellow, the cadmium yellow, the light wash, which also act as a lighting inside the buildings. You can see I went and flattened out the sky again because I didn't like the value on it, so I used water to have as a flat wash. And since there's a little bit of water and a little bit of wetness in my background, so I'm kind of like putting this dark wash on top of it. And you can see it also helped my painting a little bit better, and I thought I lost it, but I kept going with a little bit of having faith in it. Even in the building in the midground, and the value is not that darker, it's not coming in the front, so I just want to make sure to throw down another wash and make sure it reads well. And you can see as soon as we added that warmer building, you can see there's a contrast between warm and cool colors. And whenever you paint, there's a really good way of painting is to complementing with warm and cool. So I want to make sure the lights in the foreground acts pretty good, so I'm putting a little bit of cadmium yellow on top of it. So now I'm adding a little bit of a secondary details, and you can see I'm just adding a little bit of details for the cars. So the whole painting is about the foreground, the lighting, so I don't spend that much time on rendering the cars, so I'll keep it really simple and I'll go from there. And I also noticed that my foreground looked really weak, and I just picked colors in my palette, which is like bunch of colors which are mixed in. That's a leftover palette, and I'm just adding a little bit of purple in the foreground to just add as a lead in. And this is just to kill the monotonous of the colors. I don't want my painting to look muddy, so I just introducing a little bit of colors here and there. Even though it looks a little bit muddy there, but like once we add peoples in the painting, it will fix by itself. So I'm just adding people now in the midground. So I'm going to have 3 layers of people. There's going to be some in the background, mid-ground, and the foreground. And it also enhances a little bit of perspective in our painting as well. And you can see as soon as we add the figure and the whole painting, we got a sense of scale on our painting. That's really important because there's one way of showing scale is through cars and people, especially in any kind of landscape or cityscape you do. And this is the figure I'm talking about. I just want to make that figure as dark as possible because I want them to be in the foreground. And I was also thinking like adding a bigger figure, but eventually I'll add it at the end. So I'm also adding a little bit of cadmium yellow and cadmium orange just to get the faces. So now it's a matter of adding details. So as soon as we add those details, the whole painting come alive. So this is the street lights. So there's 3 sphere lights which is attached to this pole, but I'll try to make it really simple as possible. So now we took care of the major shapes. Now it's a matter of fact we can start adding the secondary details. The secondary details in our reference should be the street lights, street poles, and like all of the details which can act as extra details in our scene. And you can see I'm also adding those street poles and everything, and I'm making sure I'm keeping my background as simple as possible. So now I'm taking cadmium yellow and a little bit of Chinese white in it. I'm just bringing back some of the highlights back wherever I lost my highlights. You can see I'm also adding it in the buildings as well. So I'm adding a lot of details in the foreground. As it goes in the distance, it's get lesser and lesser, and that's also other way of doing enhancing perspective in our painting. And you can see I'm taking white paint now and bringing back some of the highlights back, even for the street poles and the street lights. And this is a fun thing to do, adding highlights and making sure our painting reads. And this also gives a little bit of life in our painting, because every painting you do, it's all about lighting and shadows. And if you take any night scenes, it's about dark and lighter values. You can see as soon as we add a little bit of white values here and there, the whole scene came alive. So this is also another way of adding snow in my areas where I lost it. And you can see I'm adding it really minimal compared to our scene in our reference. So when I started painting, when I looked at my reference or when I go out and paint, there's a lot of noise around you. What I mean by that is, as a beginner, we tend to caught up on details. We don't look for the major shapes. We don't know how to simplify. I think it comes by experiences. So when you look at my reference, there's a lot of noise happening in my reference, but I'm simplifying in a such a way that we are telling a story of what we are painting, and we are also capturing the mood and the lighting and the shadows in our painting. So if you capture all those things, our painting eventually will sit in place. And the other thing is, I never compare my reference to my painting, because I lose every time when I do it. And this I learned from my one of my favorite artists. So that advice helped me a lot when I do a lot of my painting. And even though when I started this painting, I didn't have that much faith that I could do it, but eventually when I finished it, I'm happy with it. So now it's your turn. Take my drawing template and reference and watch this video, and let's see what you can come up with. Thanks again for watching this snowstorm winter video with me. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section. If you want me to cover any of the subjects in watercolors, write me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or comment below. Before you go, hit the subscribe button so you guys can get weekly video updates from our channel. And please do share with your friends and family. And good luck with your painting, folks.